Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm glad that you're able to join us today for today's interview because I've got an amazing woman for you. She's runs one of the top hypnosis schools in the country, right? So if you want to go take your certification course, or if you just want to learn some amazing healing techniques, come check out her school. She's been around for 40 years in the healing community. 40 years. Well, that's a long time. So you know she's somebody that you really want to listen to. She's somebody who's gone through an amazing journey and she's come out on top and an incredible, incredible woman. You could tell she's all heart. She just wants to help the people that come to her. She wants to help the world in general. And she's quite fascinating. Her story, her journey is amazing. She's going to have some wonderful things to tell you. There are some things that I learned about her that I didn't know about that were very inspiring, just to say the least. So come check it out. Let's see, her school's out in Oakland, California, right? Um, she's written a few books, Extraordinary Healing. Healing is remembering who you are. And just recently, she just had her book launch, which she will tell you all about. So I'm not going to say anything about it right now, so that it can be a surprise for you. But it's in story format, and it's got a ton of lessons. Okay, I've given enough. I'll let her tell you so that she can have the privilege and the honor to tell you. We tried to get this interview out a couple of months ago, but she was busy. I was busy. She was busy with her book, her launching, and the NGH. She taught a few courses at the NGH, and I was busy with my own launch, right? So if you haven't heard, if you haven't seen it, go to theperfectaffirmation.com. Theperfectaffirmation.com. It's an accumulation of all of the healing concepts and techniques that I put together in my own program, my own system. So please check it out and visit theperfectaffirmation.com. And without further ado, here is Marilyn Gordon.
Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to have our guest on board. It's Marilyn Gordon, and she's done some wonderful things in the hypnosis world, but not just the hypnosis world, actually. She's done a lot of things in the healing world. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, Matt. Great to be here with you.
Great to have you. We've been trying to get with each other for over a month now, but you were busy and you had a lot of things happening. You had the book launch, right?
Yeah.
How did that go? I want to talk more about that, but how did that go?
It went great. We got into the bestseller list on Amazon in 4 categories.
Wow.
So we did really great.
Congratulations. That must have been very exciting.
Thanks. And I just sent 6 copies. My first to Whole Foods in Oakland, and they're going to be selling them there, which is really exciting because it's a good beginning. One of the guys there in the produce department, he said, that's really great. A lot of people come in here and they have books, but they don't get their books in the store. You got yours in here. I said, yes, and that's very exciting.
Wow, that's quite fascinating. I'm so excited for you. Wow, that's excellent. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So Marilyn, I mean, just for our listeners, how long have you been in the healing field?
I have been in this field since 1970. So how long is that?
80, 90, wow, 40, 30, 40 years, yeah?
A long time, definitely a long time. So that, yeah, maybe going on 40 years being in this field. It's been quite a long time. In fact, I began doing healing work before I knew it was hypnosis, before I called it hypnosis.
Really?
And finally yes, I did.
What were you doing before something called hypnosis?
Well, before all this, I used to be a high school teacher. I used to teach English.
Ah.
And then when I left that, you want to hear the whole story?
Yes, please. I would love to. We'd love to hear you.
So at the end of the time that I was teaching English, I taught at 3 different high schools in Chicago. And I had actually been to into California before I was at those high schools, but I moved back for 5 years and taught high school. And the last year, the students were rioting in the schools. It was 1969.
Wow.
Students were rioting in the schools. And I was brave, to say the least. But, I used to break up fights and all of that.
Wow.
But at the very end of the day, I'd go home and I was exhausted. And I really got burned out, and it was just a basket case.
Was that a rough part of Chicago?
Well, it was south side of Chicago.
Yeah.
And, I taught at different kinds of schools. One was a very academic school, and then the last one was a school that wonderful students, but some of them were rioting in school.
Right.
And, yeah. So, I came back to California in 1970, and someone suggested to me that I go to a yoga class. And I didn't know too much about yoga. But I said, okay, I'll see, because I had tried many ways to relax myself after all these traumatic experiences, and I was going through many life changes too. And I tried many ways. I actually was trying all these different kinds of aspirin and barbiturate aspirin. They kind of worked to help with my headaches, but they had so many different side effects. And someone said, try yoga. I said, okay, I will. At the end of the yoga class, we did a relaxation process, relaxing all the different parts of the body, which now, progressive relaxation.
Exactly.
But with the first time I did it, I was just amazed. I was transfixed.
Wow.
It was just this beautiful place, and I went to San Francisco, and it smelled like incense and fresh baked bread. Climbed the stairs up into a room, kind of an attic room that had big windows and plants, and then we did this relaxation. And I said, this is it. This is what I want. I knew it. So then I became a teacher of meditation and yoga. I used to be a yoga teacher.
Wow.
And then I took a course. Actually, I'll tell you what it is. You want to know?
Yes. Tell me all about it.
Okay, it was the very first EST class.
Oh, okay.
Earhart, in 1971.
Wow.
And this was different from the reputation that EST had of being militaristic, because it was, the classes were small.
Yeah.
Werner was, amazing. I took it actually 3 times. And in this class, I learned how to do visualization and how to do inner healing. And then I put it all together with my yoga and meditation.
Wow.
And I began to work with people, helping them to find their higher selves, and then helping them to work out the issues of their lives, the challenges of their lives through working with the higher self. Now, this was in the 70s. I didn't know till 1987 that it could be called hypnosis. I met a woman who told me she'd become certified, and I asked her what she did, and she told me, and I said, you've got to be kidding. That's what I do.
Wow.
So I became certified. Yeah, it was kind of amazing. And then I started a school, because all my adult life I've been a teacher. And so it was natural for me to start a hypnosis school, and I did that, and it just began to grow and grow and grow.
And is that the same school you have now?
Yes. I started that about 15 or so years ago. It's the same school, but it has morphed. It has changed a great deal over the years.
Right.
And also I've added something, and what that is I've become an internet marketer and become really interested in doing online projects.
Yeah.
So I have home study programs and website programs, and just, I study internet marketing and work with it all the time. So I've added this component to my work with, in-person hypnotherapy.
That's a good program. I've actually got your internet marketing program.
You did? The one?
Yes. And there's...
The business success?
Yes.
Or,
the big one.
Consultants and spiritual entrepreneurs. Yeah. So have you looked at it?
I have, and there's definitely a lot of information, because that's something, I'm out getting one of my programs out now, so I keep referring back to it. So there's definitely a lot of information there that I can use.
That's fantastic. Well, I studied and I started learning about teleseminars, and then I learned about creating ebooks.
Right.
And then I learned about writing online articles to increase your mailing list.
Yeah.
And, I still am studying. I'm learning now about Pinterest and Goodreads. And, I just keep studying it, and it fascinates me. And it's a learning experience, too.
Well, you can definitely...
That's not where Yeah, go ahead.
You can definitely, in your newest book, you can definitely tell that you're a seeker. There is so much knowledge in that book. It's just crazy. Every chapter is just filled, jam-packed with all the, well, I don't know if it's all the things, but a lot of the things that you've been through and the journey that you've been on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just say for people who are listening, the name of that book is Realize Your Greatness.
Yes.
Spectacular Journey to Success, Transformation, and Spiritual Power. And yes, it is jam-packed with experiences. It's a story about a woman who's having a really hard time in her life. Which
makes it more interesting, because it makes learning all the tools that you have in that book very simple.
Oh, thanks. I started writing it as regular nonfiction and prose, and then a voice came to me and said, make it a story.
Right.
So I said, well, where should I start? How do I start with this? And the voice said, start at the beginning, Alice.
Huh.
And then I said, oh, so that's what you're trying to tell me. So then I did it in the framework of Alice in Wonderland.
Right.
And the main character's name is Alice, and she falls into a hole in the ground. She's having trouble with her relationships, her work, with her finances, with her spiritual life. She falls into a hole in the ground, and there, in every chapter, she meets a new mentor, guru, teacher. It's all magical stuff. It's written with the imagination, and I had such a time writing it. I just went into this very high state and wrote it. And it's a fun book to read, I think.
Yeah, no, it's very fun. It reminded me somewhat of another book that helped shape my views, and it came out. I don't know, probably a couple decades ago. It's called The Instant Millionaire. Did you ever read that one?
So
it's a great book. It's a prose. It's written in story form, but it also teaches lessons as well. Your book is much more in depth, right? Because his story was about meeting an instant millionaire. An instant millionaire was giving this guy who's having trouble with his life lessons on how to become a millionaire. But your book goes into much more depth. It's incredible. Just reading the first couple chapters, when you start talking about your wise mind technique. I was reading the book and I put it down and I started thinking about the technique and what I wanted out of my life, and some stuff came up that I didn't actually think about. I'm like, whoa, that's kind of interesting, So just right off the bat, when you start reading your book, it just takes off, It's and then from there, it's just one lesson after the other.
Some people want to read it fast, and some people want to read it slowly and just savor the learning experiences. And some people just want to, you can read it in a few days.
Right.
But it just depends how you want to do it. But
Well,
there is just a lot in there.
Yes, I read it in a few days, but I think I'm going to go through it again and then slow down this time. And
that's a good idea. Yeah. And what you said is that those are the lessons of a lifetime that I have been learning for many, many years.
Right.
And some of my favorite things, like reading some of the authors of the Law of Attraction from the turn of the century, like Napoleon Hill and all these other great ones, and I was able to go back to them. And then I reread some Yogananda.
Right.
And other great books, and put them all together. The I Am teachings.
Right.
Were you surprised when the masters showed up at the end?
Yes, definitely a good twist. Yeah, definitely. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, Napoleon Hill said he had a mastermind group on the inside of his mind that he worked with all the time, like Henry Ford and all these, these captains of industry. But I created a mastermind group of Jesus and Buddha and Saint Germain and Kuan Yin, and they all came in to their wisdom to transform Alice's life. So that was so much fun to do. It was really fun.
So I imagine, right, a lot of what you've actually written, and you've already kind of said so, but maybe you can expand on it, but there were lessons that you went through in your journey of life, from how long to up until now.
Absolutely. Things that I learned along the way, and also things that my clients have learned.
Right.
So it's all a composite of my learning and my clients' learning and my being one of the teachers and my being one of the students.
Right.
But I put it in these imaginary characters. And everything is done. I don't know if you can hear noise. You hear some noise?
No,
in the background?
I don't hear anything.
That's good. Someone's doing making some big noise. Okay, I'm glad you can't hear. But there's all these fantastic environments. They're imaginary environments that they have. Some of them have gardens, and they go out into the garden in the back, and they go to the trees and pick the fruits and vegetables and eat their lunch from there. And, they have lots of flowers and pillows, and, there's a hypnotist in there, and Alice goes to visit the hypnotist, and, and the happiness coach, and the emotional healer, and the relationship healer, and the wealth teacher. Now, so many of those things are from experiences that I had.
Now, the hypnotist part, right? And the character that you have, I won't go too much into it, but the character that you had for the hypnotist, was that, I imagine that there was a special somebody in the hypnosis world that kind of reminded me of. Am I right, or was it just something that you, as a character?
No, I made him up. He just came into my mind as this, he had a ponytail. He was lean and had a very radiant face.
Nice.
He just came into my mind. I didn't have any particular person, but there were some people that I did, and there was one, for example. She was the bronze media queen. Yeah. And you know who that was?
Yeah. No, I don't. Who was it?
That was Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, yeah. Right, of course. Right.
Yeah. And at the end, they go and get interviewed by her. And,
wow.
There's an oracle that comes in at the end. I call it the Oracle of Delphi, which is the great, from the oracle from the great Greek tragedies. The ancient. I used to be an English major, so.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're very well read.
Well, when you're an English major, you read a lot. A lot of literature, but the literature that I love is the spiritual literature,
right.
And the what do you call it? The New Thought, William Walker Atkinson, and Napoleon Hill, and all these other wonderful beings. Joseph Murphy, I'm a huge fan of his. I don't know if you know him, but
I don't.
I love the New Thought teachings. Oh, he's beautiful. So high, such high teaching. Yeah.
Joseph Murphy.
Joseph Murphy, minister, the New Thought minister.
Okay.
Beautiful, inspirational stuff.
I'm just typing
so I was able to bring a lot of this into it.
Wow.
And,
Okay, I just wrote it down.
Good. Through traveling through being an English major, I studied all the classics, all the Shakespearean and things, and John Milton and all of that. And some of it I did include, just in little ways. But, I had my big transformation in life. And so now I have more of the transformational writers like Rumi and, the great spiritual poets and all of that. And they have their place there, too.
Yeah. Wow, very fascinating. Very fascinating. We're talking about this journey, and a lot of my interview here is talking about how healers have used what they've used to heal themselves. Did you have any particular...
I didn't hear that.
Oh,
that was breaking.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. A big part of my interviews is talking to healers that have been able to use what they've learned to heal themselves. Right?
Yes.
Have you been able to use these techniques and concepts through some rough periods of your life? And if you did, could you give an example?
In my own life,
Yes.
absolutely. Well, I'm really into Ho'oponopono. And that is a Hawaiian teaching, and I use it with myself all the time. And it's a teaching, it's a very profound teaching that works with forgiveness and gratitude and love.
Right.
And so there are 4 things that you say over and over again,
Yes.
which are thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me.
Right.
And I use that in my own life all the time. In fact, I had an operation on my eye about 5 months ago. I had a cataract on one eye. And I decided that, well, I did want to have a topical anesthetic, but I didn't want to have a general one. I wanted to use hypnosis.
Right.
So here I'm actually counting down, doing a relaxation process, but saying, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, over and over and over again. Well, I just sailed through that process.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a psychedelic experience, actually. I just saw beautiful lights.
Now, who were you addressing the 4 statements to?
Well, I address the divine,
Yeah.
but you could say it to anybody. You could say it to yourself,
Right.
You could say whatever is irrelevant to you. You say, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me.
Well, that's fascinating because I know about the technique, and everyone I've talked to has always tended to use it for somebody, right? And I've never heard anybody use it for the divine. That's fascinating.
What do they say? What do they say they use it?
They use it for someone. Okay, they address it towards someone.
A person.
Right, to a person.
Okay, well, I say, thank you to the divine. Thank you, and I love you.
Right.
Thank you, and I love you. And then I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'm sorry for my stinking thinking. I'm sorry that at times I'm sorry that at times I haven't had faith.
Wow.
I'm sorry that I misperceived this and that I'm not looking in the right direction. So please forgive me and let me be absolved from that, so I can have some, I can manifest greatly with my good thoughts.
Wow.
Just get the other ones out of the way, please.
so the cataract surgery went well, and you did absolutely fine and recovered.
Great.
Excellent.
Great. Another thing that I do all the time is I do yoga all the time, and I also meditate every day. And I promised myself about 35 years ago that I would meditate every day, no matter what. And I kept my promise to myself. And I actually love meditation. I really love it.
Well,
it's hurt.
a lot of people when they start meditation have a really hard time sitting quiet and staying with themselves. And you've been able to do it for 35 straight years now, right? Every day?
Yeah, every day. So try thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And try that and say that over and over.
Yeah.
Or you can just watch your breathing.
Right.
And go in, say I on the in breath and am on the out breath. I am. Can you hear the hammering?
No, I can't hear anything back there.
Oh, that's terrific. I'm glad. If anybody listening is hearing hammering, it's just because there's hammering going on.
Okay. Well, that's great. So, so meditation, you already gave them a bit of advice, but do you have a bit of advice for people who are kind of squirrely, and if they start sitting there and try to repeat that, they kind of get a little anxious or a little nervous?
Just start with a short meditation. Start with 5 minutes, and then gradually bring it up as you get more and more into it. Because meditation has great rewards. It's like a sanctuary. That if things are happening in your life that are difficult, or if you're thinking thoughts that are difficult, if you have meditation, you can just go in that space and relax yourself, and it's like a blanket of peace is thrown around you.
Yeah.
And you go into a different state, and it's just, that everything now is okay.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about meditation, because everything's okay. You get into a space of your consciousness. Another thing is that it helps you see things in the right way. So much of the time we misperceive things.
Right.
People hurting our feelings, or things that are some people are worriers. They think about the worst possible thing that could happen. And if you go into meditation, it calms your mind and gets you into a state of equanimity, and it's just a wonderful way to calm your being.
Now, I mean, all the stuff that you're saying now, and I know that people who have gone through a lot of healing techniques and concepts and finding their own journey, somewhere along the way they must have had a pretty tough time, right? I mean, you've been doing it for 35, 40 years or so now. Did you have like a really rough part of your life where you really had to focus on it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was a time when I had to live in a tent, because I was finishing up with one phase of my life, a relationship, and that was over, and the other part of my life hadn't started yet.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a place to live, and I pitched a tent in Bolinas. Now, a lot of people would think that would be fun.
Yeah.
But for me, that wasn't fun, and it started to rain. It was getting to be the rainy season, and at night I got scared. It's a huge growing experience, and even my handwriting changed at that point.
Wow.
It was a major time of going from one phase of myself to another.
Oh, I like.
Go ahead.
I like what you said, because it's a great metaphor. You're out, it was raining, and you're scared of the dark. I mean, what a great metaphor, being going into the dark, right? And then all the raining, the cleansing that's happening within the rain.
Yeah, it was interesting. At the same time, I went to the Renaissance Fair. You know what the Renaissance Fair is, right?
Yes.
They dress up in Renaissance costumes and go to the fair. And I went there and brought my daughter, and she shared the tent experience with me, by the way.
Wow.
So we both went there. And this wandering minstrel came around, and he said to me, "Since my house burned down, now I have a better view of the rising moon." And my jaw dropped. I said, "You've got to be kidding me. Oh my God, no kidding."
I'm sure that struck a chord.
And I love to reframe things, put them into a spiritual level. And I just looked at him and said, "How did you know?"
Wow, that's incredible.
Perfect.
How was it sharing the tent experience with your daughter?
Well, she was a hardy soul. She's pretty adventurous about it. She loved, to learn all about the wildflowers and take nice walks, and so she did really great.
Did you find that those moments brought you guys closer together?
Yes, absolutely. She's now 48. And I'm older than I look, so I don't know, maybe I was 12 too, but I'm a senior citizen.
Oh, and you're still very lively.
Well, yeah, I don't pay attention to the numbers. I just, I'm very passionate about my work, and I'm really now so into writing.
Yeah.
And
Hello?
You and I were talking about it. It's called Realize Your Greatness, and it's up on Amazon. And it's up on Kindle, and I've got 6 other books on Kindle.
Wow, you got 6 books.
Up on Kindle, yes. And then I have other print books there, too.
Wow, that's just...
Extraordinary Healing, and the other one is...
I loved Extraordinary Healing, by the way.
You like that one?
Yes, that was. I probably like that the most. What I got into the hypnosis world back in around 1999 or so, and one of the first books I read was Extraordinary Healing, and
Oh.
yes, and back then, I think. Right, to my knowledge anyway, I think that you might have been one of the first to bring EFT into the hypnosis community. Right?
Yeah, I was early in the game with that, definitely, because I have a friend of Gary Craig, who is the founder of EFT, and I went to a conference years ago of EFT people.
Yeah.
And during one of the breaks, I demonstrated how to combine EFT with hypnosis, and the video taped it.
That was in the first series. That was in the first series, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because I remember that.
Yeah, people from all over have emailed me because they have never seen anything like it before. First of all, they've never seen anybody put their arm around a client.
Yeah.
Or be compassionate, or give them tender, loving care. So that's something that people could observe and hadn't really seen it before. But then they saw me combine it with hypnosis, and that was different for some people too.
Right.
So I've had a lot of response over the years. I still get people saying, "I saw you on those videos."
Now the healing community, from your point of view, in the last 40 years, I'm sure some things have stayed the same, but then some things have always also been added, like EFT. So, I mean, just in the last 40 years alone, has it changed quite drastically or quite a lot, or are the same concepts still kind of the same and being spewed out in a different way?
Well, things have changed for me in my work because I don't need to go and up into the past.
Yeah.
I sit and they do it with me because it's helpful.
Yeah.
But there are ways to shift consciousness,
Right.
so that people perceive their problems and their challenges differently.
Yeah.
And once they see it in a new way, everything changes. So I've found that, I can do things more quickly and more profoundly by shifting consciousness.
Wow.
And that's something that has shifted in my work.
Now, do you think you can do that more profoundly because of the journey you've been on? Possibly?
Yeah,
Right. So, I mean, because that gives you a deeper understanding.
Yeah, it has also to do with just new tools that have come in, because you were talking about the wise mind process.
Yes.
The wise mind process is something that I created over the years, and it's something that I have done with myself.
Yeah.
And then created it into a technique.
Yeah.
And it has 4 steps to it, and it's quick and simple. It's so easy.
Yes.
And I use it a lot. I work with the wise mind a lot.
Wow.
When people get into that, they go into an altered consciousness, and then they shift their vision of their lives.
That technique definitely does kind of take you away from everything going on outside of you, right? And it just definitely shifts you and transforms you, because you have to focus inside for that.
Absolutely. And in fact, you go inside and you don't necessarily have to do a hypnotic induction.
Right.
To have success with it. You just do it. In fact, the way we have it in our program, we have a method called the Transformational Healing Method. It's got a lot, but it's all done. It's very simple. I use it a lot. I use it more than EFT now. I like it because, for me, it has a lot of content. But there are things that EFT does perfectly well, and I still use it.
Wow.
But I do EFT in a different way.
Yeah.
I do it in a way. I'm modeled after an approach called choices.
Right.
Now, this is not what is called original EFT. Originally, EFT is Gary Craig's technique and his daughter Tina, and they do a beautiful job. And they like, it to be done that way. However, because I am a transformational healer, I like using choices because it does transform it through the language.
Right.
And you say, even though I have this, problem, I choose to heal it. Or even though I feel anxious, I choose to feel peaceful.
Right.
So it has the transformation in there. So, you just do EFT the way you like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people are doing that nowadays with all the offshoots of EFT, right? Everybody's found unique ways of using it, and I think I gotta contribute that to a lot of the brilliance of Gary Craig being open enough to say, look, here's my technique, guys, go ahead and share it in what way you can. Right? That has
been something that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, something's happened lately that Gary and his daughter Tina have come out with. Here's how we like it to be done.
Is that right?
So many people going into their own little worlds with it that it was kind of, I guess it was being watered down too much. So now they have, it's called Original EFT.
Oh, interesting.
And they have guides to it.
Interesting, okay.
So there is, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Good. Okay, so there is something being done now to bring it back into the fold.
Interesting.
So, I still like choices a lot. It works well for me.
Yeah. Wow. Very fascinating. Can you share maybe one of your client cases where you were able to help somebody move through something pretty big?
Yeah, there are so many.
Oh, I imagine you have.
It's hard for me to remember. Yeah, a lot of them. But there's one that never has left my mind, and I did it years ago, but it's just in my mind, and it seems fresh in my mind, but I'm sure it must have changed over the years. But here's how it went. A lady came. She was in deep pain on the right side of her body, deep pain. And she sat and she talked for 10, 15 minutes about how she'd been to the Mayo Clinic. And she came hobbling on a 3-pronged cane.
Wow.
And she cried and said she was in pain, and she tried everything and nothing worked. And I just stopped and I just looked at her, and something prompted me to say to her, have you ever been abused? And she looked up at me and she said, oh my God. She said, yeah, my husband abused me. I married him at 16, and he abused me and the kids every single day, and he hurt us terribly. So she said, and I shot him.
Oh.
I think she told me she killed him, but I can't remember. I think I'm blocking that one out. but so we did some really great healing work with it. First of all, to get his energy out of her energy field, and to release all the difficult experiences she had. We did a lot of that releasing.
Yeah.
And allow guides and healers, and she was really into Jesus, so allow Jesus to come, and she would touch the hem of his garment, and have healing experiences. In a couple of weeks, she came wearing high-heeled shoes, and she wanted to do weight loss. That was just amazing to me.
Now, when you say you were doing releasing stuff, can you give an example of some of the releasing you were doing? A technique or a concept? Or?
Well,
if you remember.
Yeah, something I don't do very much anymore. In fact, I hardly do. Every once in a while I'll do it. I just don't care for doing it, but we did some entity release work.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Which means, it's not really my cup of tea. I like working with the light.
Yeah.
That's what feels most comfortable to me, though I really admire people who like working with the darkness and help extract it.
Right.
But we did that and had, I make special sounds to help the entities to release, and I did some tapping, and I did some chanting, and all kinds of things to help to release it. And then I, did what's called mesmeric passes, which is taking the hand and slowly moving it through the aura to bring in light. You probably know about that, Matt.
Yes, definitely.
And bring in healing and light and smooth everything out and bring in love and bring in angels and guides and God, and Jesus and everything else.
Well, you're just like a whole smorgasbord of different techniques.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that story. I know I know that some people can get a little weirded out by it, but as hypnotists, we got to be prepared. Go ahead.
I don't do entity release so much anymore, as I said, because I used to teach it in my classes, but I realized that some people get very uncomfortable and it brings out their negativity. So I stopped teaching it in our classes.
Yeah.
But, some people are really made to do this. They're meant for this work. And it's so important to be able to release big chunks of negativity from people.
Definitely.
They just carry things around that are not theirs, They're just things that they have gotten along the way.
Yeah.
And it's really great to be able to release it.
Now, lately, like let's say maybe within the last year or so, have you added any new techniques and concepts into your practice?
In the last year or so.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, I tend, I keep refining our method, which I said the transformational healing method, to make it more and more efficient. And make it so that, you don't have to study this work for years and years and years to be able to help people. And so we have it on 6 pages in our hypnotherapy program, and I keep refining it, and I just make it simpler and simpler so people can learn it and help other people. And they do. They take it out and help people with some very complex issues.
Right.
But the technique can help people, because it gets more and more condensed.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. And what I've been working on more and more is my writing.
Right.
Because I'm just loving communicating in that way.
Huh.
And I really enjoy it a lot.
Back to refining, martial arts has been a huge part of my life. And Bruce Lee used to say, with different arts and different techniques, he said, when you have an art, you don't necessarily want to add to it. It's about paring it down to its basic essence to find the truth.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Absolutely right.
And
that's brilliant.
And I think yes, I think correct me or tell me what you think. But I think there have just been so many techniques, so many different things out there, and a lot of it has been, or some of it anyway, has been a lot of flash, right? And they've gotten away from some of the basics and some of the heart of the concepts, right? But I could see why maybe Gary Craig would want to he'd want to swing it back around, because EFT was starting to get a little crazy there for a little while with a lot of different techniques.
Yeah, clean up the field a little bit. Absolutely. Well, people come from all different kinds of consciousness levels with their work. And there are always constituents who will be magnetized to them. So the people who like flash and do the flash will find people to work with. And the people who like to work, with
simply
love and healing and, tender loving care and all that, they'll find the people that want to work with them too. So there's something for everyone.
Well, I love your attitude about it.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I love your attitude about it. Because I think too many times in the healing world, there's this is better, that is better, this is the number one technique I should use, right? When it's not. It's about finding what works best for you and attracting the clients who you can help, right? That's
right. Everybody creates the work from where they are themselves. There's if you go to a National Guild of Hypnotists convention, you'll see there's every kind possible. There's, people wearing the plaid polyester pants, and there's people wearing angel clothes, and there's people, teaching sports hypnosis, and others doing breast augmentation hypnosis.
Right,
and there's other, and there's just, and that's just where they're coming from, because that's their passion.
So Marilyn, so you're going to the NGX next week?
Yes, I am. I have 3 programs I'm giving. One is a full day program on the power of spiritual hypnosis.
Okay.
And then another one is on the wise mind process.
Right.
1 hour.
Wow,
And
very
then a
good.
2 hour with a potpourri of techniques that people can do to create better sessions if they want them.
Wow.
If they like them, and we teach a bunch of different techniques. So that's my 2 hour.
Now,
I'm so looking. Yeah, go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. Now, are there do you have any other projects out, or any new book or writings coming out?
Yes. Yes. And I have a couple projects. Well, here's something I'm doing. I have Realize Your Greatness, which I really enjoy it. I like the book a lot, and I'm going to be speaking a lot at different places. There's a wonderful bookstore here called East West Books. I'm going to be speaking about that, about the book there in fall in next January. And we also have a number of teleseminars coming up, telecourses.
Got it.
I have different teachers who teach them. One is coming up about relief. Another, let's see, it's about guided imagery.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be having a telecourse coming up with some of the lessons of the programs from Realize Your Greatness. But here's something. I had a book, my very first book, called Healing is Remembering Who You Are.
Yes.
And you know that book?
Yes, no, definitely. I remember that, right?
So, yeah, and I recently, I don't have it in digital format, so I can't have it reproduced because I don't have it. It was done early in the game, But I'm having it retyped now by someone in the Philippines. In fact, I just got the first 4 chapters today, and I'm so excited about it. And as I look at it, it's got so much good stuff in it, and I'm going to come out with that in a very short, maybe in the fall.
Hey, I think I'm going to have to retract my words because I think I actually liked Healing is Remembering Who You Are, maybe more so than Extraordinary Healing. I liked it a lot.
You like that one?
Yes, I do. Now that I think about it, I remember. Yeah, I mean, gosh, yeah, that's one of the books that I got into when I first got into this. And what a great name!
Back.
Yeah, excellent. Everybody should get out there and get it. So where can they access all the information, all the stuff that you've got coming out?
Yes, they go to www.lifetransformationsecrets. Life Transformation Secrets, and there's an S at the end of secrets.com, and it's got all that info. And if you want to get Realize Your Greatness, you can still get a lot of gifts if you go to realizeyourgreatnessbook.com. Realizeyourgreatnessbook.com, and we have books still left over from our launch program. People can still get that, and you can get the book on Amazon. It's only $10 on Amazon for something in Kindle version.
Oh wow!
And I enjoyed it. It's fun for me, that book.
Wow, Marilyn. Again, you've had quite a jam-packed journey. I don't think your life has been boring by any stretch. Right? I don't think your life has been boring by any stretch.
Oh, not at all. Oh, no.
Marilyn, thank you for taking this time out. Oh, do you have would you like to say something?
I just wanted to say thank you. I've enjoyed this interview so much. You're such a wonderful person, and I my tendency, to be an interviewer, I want to ask you all about your stuff, and I say, Marilyn, is he supposed to be asking me? Listen, you're just great, Matt. I really enjoy you and appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you very much. And again, I appreciate you greatly because, again, you're one of the biggest influences over my career in the beginning and even today. So I have just been absolutely delighted having an opportunity to talk with you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.